Under the shining metal ceiling of the Galactic Combat Academy, hundreds of alien cadets stood in perfect lines. Their scales, armor, and strange eyes reflected the blue training lights. In the middle of them stood one small figure, a young human woman named Lena Ward. She was the only human ever accepted into the elite combat program. Compared to the tall, muscular aliens around her, Lena looked weak, fragile, and out of place. Most of them didn't even hide their laughter when they saw her trembling hands. The instructor, Commander Rahl, towered above her. His reptilian face was sharp, his armor shining with medals. He had trained soldiers from 20 planets, but this was his first human trainee. When he looked at Lena, his eyes were filled with amusement, not respect. "Show me your punch, little earthling," he said with a mocking smile. His voice was deep and cruel, echoing across the training hall. Lena took a breath, clenched her fist, and stepped forward. She had practiced this move thousands of times back on Earth, but now her heart raced. The aliens around her whispered and chuckled. "She will fall after the first strike," one hissed. "Humans are too soft," said another. Lena tried not to listen. She focused on the target, Commander Rahl's chest plate. With all the strength she had, she threw her punch. Her small fist hit his armor with a faint tap. The room went silent for a second, then erupted in laughter. The sound filled the hall like thunder. Some cadets doubled over, their tails hitting the ground as they laughed. Even Rahl couldn't hide his grin. He stepped back and said loudly, "That's it? That's the power of humanity." His voice dripped with sarcasm. Lena's face turned red, but she didn't step back. Her fist was still raised, her eyes locked on his. Deep inside, she felt the burn of humiliation, but also something else, a spark, a quiet anger. She whispered under her breath, "I can do better." Rahl tilted his head, amused. "Oh, you think you can hurt me, human?" He spread his arms, showing his large chest covered in silver armor. "Go ahead. Try again." The laughter faded, replaced by curiosity. Could the tiny human really be foolish enough to challenge him again? Lena inhaled slowly, her heart beat loud in her ears. She remembered her father's words back on Earth, "Pain is temporary, strength is choice." She stepped closer. Her right foot pressed into the ground, steady and firm. Her mind went blank. All she saw was the target. Then, she moved. Her second punch came fast, too fast for anyone to see clearly. It wasn't just strength, it was precision, control, and focus. The moment her fist connected, a deep thud echoed through the hall. The floor vibrated. Rahl stumbled backward 2 steps, shock written across his alien face. The laughter stopped instantly. Every cadet froze. Rahl looked down at his armor and saw a small dent, a dent caused by a human's bare hand. Silence filled the hall. Lena stood there, breathing hard, her hand shaking but her eyes calm. "That was impossible," one alien whispered. Rahl's expression shifted from amusement to confusion, then to anger. He roared, "How dare you!" and charged toward her, but Lena didn't flinch. She simply stepped back and said quietly, "You asked me to try again." For a moment, Rahl didn't know what to say. He looked at her, this small human who had somehow hurt him, and saw not fear but resolve. He had mocked her, and she had answered with power. The other cadets started murmuring. "Did you see that? She moved like lightning. Her strength, it's not normal." Rahl raised a clawed hand to silence them. His pride burned inside him. "You got lucky," he said coldly. "Next time, I won't hold back." Lena looked at him, her eyes steady. "Neither will I." That sentence hit harder than any punch. Rahl turned and walked away, but everyone could see the dent in his armor. Lena stood alone in the center of the training hall. Her hand ached, her knuckles were red, but a small smile appeared on her face. She had done it. She had proved that humans were not weak, not to herself and not to them. Later that night, when the other cadets whispered in their dorms, the story of the human girl spread through the academy. Some said she used hidden technology. Others claimed humans had secret powers. But none could explain how such a small creature could make the great Commander Rahl stumble. In her quarters, Lena sat on her bunk, wrapping a bandage around her hand. She looked at the stars outside the small window. Each one reminded her of home. "They'll see," she whispered softly. "They'll all see." Far across the academy, Raoul sat in silence, staring at his armor. He touched the dent again and again, unable to believe it. "A human did this," he muttered to himself. He replayed the moment in his mind, the flash of movement, the force behind the hit, and the look in her eyes. It wasn't rage. It was focus, something deeper. For the first time in years, Commander Raoul felt something new, doubt. The next morning, every cadet was talking about the weak human who made their trainer bleed. When Lena entered the training hall again, silence followed her. No one laughed this time. The same aliens who mocked her now stepped aside. She walked past them, her head high, her expression calm. Commander Raoul stood waiting. His eyes were colder than before, but behind them was curiosity. "Human," he said slowly, "you and I will train again tomorrow. This time, I will not go easy on you." Lena looked up at him and nodded. "That's what I want." Raoul smirked. "Be careful what you wish for." As he turned away, the lights of the hall reflected off the dent on his armor. It shone like a scar, a reminder that something unexpected had begun. For the first time in Galactic Academy history, a human had challenged an alien instructor and left a mark. But this was only the beginning. What neither Raoul nor Lena knew was that their fight had been recorded by surveillance drones. By the next cycle, that short clip would spread across the galaxy, making millions of aliens ask the same question: what are humans really capable of? The next morning, the Galactic Combat Academy was buzzing with whispers. Every corridor, every training room, every alien cadet was talking about the same thing: the human girl who had dented Commander Raoul's armor. No one could believe it. Some said it was a trick, others claimed it was luck, but everyone agreed on one thing: it should not have been possible. Humans were supposed to be weak, soft, and fragile. Yet one had done the unthinkable. Lena walked through the halls quietly, her short hair still damp from training. She could feel hundreds of eyes following her. The same cadets who laughed yesterday now moved aside when she passed. Their faces showed curiosity, fear, and a strange new respect. She didn't look at them, she just kept walking toward the combat arena where Commander Raoul was waiting. When she entered, the giant alien stood in the center of the training floor, his armor repaired but the faint dent still visible. His eyes glowed yellow as he watched her approach. Around them, several alien officers observed silently, their faces expressionless but their attention sharp. Raoul crossed his arms and said in his deep voice, "You embarrassed me yesterday, human. That will not happen again." Lena stopped a few steps away and looked straight at him. "I didn't mean to embarrass you," she said calmly. "You told me to try again. I did." For a brief second, something like respect flickered in Raoul's eyes, but it vanished quickly. "You will fight again," he said. "This time under full gravity." The words made the cadets gasp. Full gravity training was dangerous even for strong alien warriors. For humans, it could break bones. But Lena didn't hesitate. "I accept," she said softly. Raoul smiled darkly. "Good. Let's see how long you last." With a wave of his hand, he activated the gravity field. The room shifted. The air grew heavier. Lena felt her knees sink slightly. Her muscles trembled under the new pressure, but she stood tall. The other cadets whispered from the sidelines, some betting she would collapse in seconds. Raoul raised his arm. "Begin." He lunged forward, his movements faster and heavier under the new gravity. Lena dodged, barely avoiding his massive fist that smashed into the floor beside her. Cracks spread across the metal surface. Dust rose. She rolled aside, breathing hard, every movement slower than usual. It felt like invisible hands were pushing her down, but she refused to fall. Still standing. Raoul taunted. "Impressive, for a human." Lena wiped the sweat from her forehead and said, "You'll have to do better than that." The cadets gasped. No one had ever spoken to Raoul that way. His eyes burned brighter. "Very well," he growled. He attacked again, faster this time. Lena barely saw him move. His strikes were powerful, precise, and unrelenting. Each one came within inches of her body. She focused on his rhythm: 3 punches, 1 pause. Then again. 3 punches, 1 pause. Her human instincts, quick and analytical, began to predict his timing. On the next pause, she moved. Her fist shot forward, small but focused, aimed at the gap between his armor plates. The impact was like thunder. The force threw Rahl back 2 steps again. The cadets went silent. Lena stood still, breathing heavily, her knuckles bruised and bleeding slightly. Rahl straightened slowly, staring at her with disbelief. There it was again, the same impossible strength. He had fought warriors twice her size who couldn't even make him flinch. But this human girl had done it twice. He frowned and deactivated the gravity field. The air lightened instantly, and Lena nearly stumbled from exhaustion. Rahl caught her arm before she fell. "How did you do that?" he asked, his voice low. "How did you generate that much force?" She looked up at him with tired eyes and said, "I don't know. I just moved the way I had to." Rahl let go of her arm and stepped back. The officers in the corner began whispering among themselves. One of them, a tall alien with silver skin, approached Rahl and said, "Commander, we must run a scan. That level of strength is not normal for a human." Rahl nodded slowly. "Do it." Lena didn't resist when they asked her to follow. She was led to the medical bay, a clean white room filled with glowing instruments and robotic arms. As she sat on the examination table, machines scanned her body, mapping her muscles and bones. The doctors, alien scientists, spoke in low tones as they read the data. "Unbelievable," one muttered. "Her cells show rapid density adaptation." Another added, "It's as if her muscles are learning from the gravity. They're getting stronger by the minute." Lena listened quietly, not fully understanding. She only knew that something inside her was changing. Back in the training hall, Rahl paced in silence. He had been certain she would break, but instead, she had grown stronger. The word human no longer sounded like weakness in his mind, it sounded like mystery. That evening, he called her back to the arena. The room was empty now, quiet except for the hum of the lights. "Human," he said when she entered. "Why are you here? Why do you want to train among us?" Lena looked at him, her face calm but her eyes burning with emotion. "Because everyone said humans were weak," she said. "Because I want to prove them wrong." Rahl stared at her for a long moment. "You already have," he said softly, almost to himself. But he quickly straightened, hiding his thoughts. "Tomorrow, we train again. Harder. If you want to stay here, you will earn your place with blood and pain." "That's fine," Lena replied. "That's how humans grow." Rahl turned away, pretending not to be impressed, but deep down he knew something had changed. The galaxy was full of species stronger, faster, and older than humans, yet none had ever shown this kind of adaptation. Something about her made him uneasy. As the night fell over the academy, rumors spread again. Some said the human was a weapon. Others whispered she was the first of a new kind. In her quarters, Lena lay awake, staring at the stars. Her hand still hurt, but she smiled slightly. "They'll see what humans can do," she whispered. And far away, in the command center, the headmasters reviewed her scan results in silence. The readings didn't make sense. Human strength increasing in direct proportion to pressure? That was impossible. But the data didn't lie. One of the scientists looked up and said, "If this is true, Commander Rahl has just trained the most dangerous species in the galaxy, and she doesn't even know it yet." Days passed, but the echoes of that fight still haunted the halls of the Galactic Combat Academy. Everywhere Lena went, whispers followed her. The story of the human girl who had dented the armor of Commander Rahl had spread beyond the academy walls. It was now being talked about in other sectors, other worlds. To some, she was a curiosity. To others, she was a threat. Commander Rahl tried to act as if nothing had changed, but inside he was restless. Every time he looked at Lena, he felt something he had not felt in decades, uncertainty. He was a proud warrior, undefeated in hundreds of duels, and yet this small human had made him doubt everything he knew about strength. The training sessions continued. Rahl pushed Lena harder each day, increasing the gravity, the speed, the pressure. He expected her to break. But she didn't. She adapted. Every time she fell, she stood up faster. Every time she bled, she healed quicker. Her movements became smoother, her eyes sharper, and her punches stronger. The other cadets started to watch her in silence during training. Their laughter was gone. In its place was a quiet respect and a hint of fear. One afternoon, after an especially harsh session, Raoul stood in front of the class. "Tomorrow," he announced, "we hold the annual combat trials. All cadets will fight before the High Command. Those who fail will be expelled." His golden eyes turned toward Lena. "That includes you, human." Lena nodded without hesitation. "I'll be ready." The cadets murmured. Many believed she wouldn't survive a real combat trial. The opponents were brutal, the battles fierce, and the judges merciless. But Lena's calm face gave no sign of fear. That night, the academy was silent except for the hum of the generators. Lena sat alone in the dim light of her quarters, her hands wrapped in bandages. Her body ached everywhere, but her mind was clear. She replayed every training session, every fall, every word Raoul had said to her. She could still hear his mocking voice from the first day. "That's it? That's the power of humanity." And it pushed her forward. She thought of Earth, of the people who had believed in her, and of those who hadn't. She whispered to herself, "I won't fail." Across the academy, in his private chamber, Raoul watched a holographic replay of their last duel. He paused the image on the moment her punch connected. The data showed an impossible energy spike. Her physical strength had increased mid-strike. "How can a human evolve during combat?" he muttered. The more he watched, the more unsettled he became. Finally, he contacted the High Command. "I request that Cadet Lena Ward be included in the advanced trial," he said. There was silence on the other end, then a deep voice replied, "The human? Are you sure? That could draw attention from the Galactic Council." Raoul's expression hardened. "Let it." The next day arrived like thunder. The combat trial arena was filled with spectators. High-ranking officers sat in the viewing deck, their eyes glowing with interest. The cadets stood in lines, armored and ready. When Lena entered, the crowd went quiet. She was smaller than everyone else, her uniform plain, no armor, only the thin human training suit. Some officers laughed softly. "This is the human," one whispered. "She won't last a minute." Commander Raoul stood in the center of the arena. "This is the combat trial," he announced. "Each cadet will fight until defeat or surrender. Skill, discipline, and strength will decide your future." His eyes locked on Lena again. "Ward, you're first." The audience murmured in surprise. Starting first meant facing the toughest opponent, the one meant to test the others. Raoul wanted to see if she would hesitate. But Lena simply stepped forward. "I'm ready, Commander." Her opponent was a massive alien named Drac, twice her height and covered in thick crimson scales. He laughed as he faced her. "I don't fight insects," he said. Raoul's voice cut through the air. "You will fight who you're told." Drac shrugged, raising his claws. "As you wish." The gong sounded. Drac charged, his claws slashing toward Lena with terrifying speed. She ducked, rolled, and dodged the first few strikes. The crowd cheered, expecting the fight to end quickly. But Lena didn't run. She studied his rhythm, 3 strikes, pause, 3 strikes, pause, the same pattern she had learned from Raoul. When Drac lunged again, she stepped sideways and hit him hard in the side. Her punch made a deep, echoing thud. The alien stumbled back, growling in surprise. "Lucky hit," he hissed. He attacked again, faster. But Lena had already adjusted. She ducked under his arm and struck again, once, twice, 3 times. The third hit made him roar in pain. He swung wildly, but she jumped backward, her feet steady, her breathing calm. For a human, she moved like a storm. The crowd grew louder. Even the high command officers leaned forward. Raoul watched closely, his eyes narrowed. Drac was getting desperate. With a roar, he slammed both fists into the ground, sending a shockwave across the floor. Lena was thrown back, her shoulder hitting the wall. Pain shot through her body, but she forced herself to stand. Drac charged again. This time, Lena waited until the last second. When he was almost upon her, she stepped in and drove her fist straight into his chest. The impact echoed across the arena. Drac froze, his eyes wide. Then he fell to his knees. The arena went silent. Ral's voice broke the stillness. Match over. Winner, Cadet Lena Ward. The silence turned into chaos, cheers, gasps, disbelief. Some shouted that it was impossible. Others stared at her with awe. On the viewing deck, one of the officers turned to another and whispered, "She's not just human. She's something new." Ral walked toward Lena. She was breathing heavily, her body trembling, but she was still standing. "You did well," he said quietly. "But this is only the beginning." Lena looked up at him. "I know. I'm ready for what comes next." Ral studied her face for a moment and nodded. "Then prepare yourself. You've drawn the Council's attention." That night, as the stars shimmered outside the Academy dome, messages flashed across the galactic network, footage of a human defeating a warrior twice her size. The clip went viral across dozens of planets. Some laughed at it, others analyzed it frame by frame. On distant worlds, generals and scientists asked the same question: how can a human fight like that? In the dark corridors of the Academy, Ral stood alone, watching the stars. He felt pride, but also fear. He had trained hundreds of soldiers, but none like her. For the first time in his long career, he whispered to himself, maybe humans are not weak after all. What neither he nor Lena knew was that far beyond the Academy, the Galactic Council had already begun a secret discussion. One of their agents spoke quietly, "If this continues, humans could become a danger to the balance. Keep an eye on her. The human girl may be the start of something we can't control." The next cycle began with a storm of excitement inside the Galactic Combat Academy. The news of Lena Ward's victory over Drac had spread to every corner of the station. Screens replayed the footage over and over again, the small human striking a towering alien and making him fall. For most cadets, it was a moment of disbelief. For others, it was the beginning of fear. Humans, once considered fragile, had just proved otherwise. Commander Ral walked through the hallways in silence. Everywhere he went, aliens stopped talking, pretending not to stare. He had trained thousands of warriors, but never had any of them caused this kind of chaos. In a way, he felt responsible for what was happening. He had mocked Lena once, and now she had become the symbol of something greater than either of them could understand. Lena, meanwhile, spent every hour training. She didn't care about the attention. She didn't want fame or glory. She wanted to grow stronger. Ral pushed her harder than ever. He increased the gravity field, extended the combat sessions, and made her spar with multiple opponents at once. Each time, she struggled at first, but then adapted. Every new challenge only made her better. Her punches became faster, her reactions sharper, her control more precise. What amazed Ral the most was that she didn't rely on anger or hatred. She fought with focus, with discipline, with something that came from deep inside her. One day, after a brutal training session, Ral called her to his private chamber. "Human," he said, his deep voice softer than usual. "Do you know what they are saying about you?" Lena looked up, sweat dripping from her face. "They're saying I'm dangerous," she said calmly. Ral nodded. "They're right. You are dangerous. Not because of your strength, but because no one understands you." He turned and looked out the window at the stars. "The Galactic Council has ordered a special duel. A public demonstration to test your limits. You will face me in the arena." Lena froze for a moment, her heart pounding. "You?" she asked. "Why?" Ral looked back at her, his golden eyes glowing faintly. "Because I am your instructor. And because they want to see if a human can defeat one of the best warriors in the galaxy." The words hit her like a cold wave. She nodded slowly. "When?" "Tomorrow," Ral said. "At dawn." That night, Lena couldn't sleep. She lay in her bunk, staring at the ceiling. The thought of facing Ral made her chest tighten. He wasn't just strong, he was precise, deadly, experienced. He knew her moves better than anyone. Still, she couldn't back down. She remembered the laughter from that first day, the look of mockery on his face, and how that had pushed her to fight harder. She whispered to herself, "This isn't about pride. It's about proving what humans can become." Across the academy, Ral sat alone in the dim light of his chamber. He watched old recordings of his past battles, of his victories. But this time, he felt no satisfaction. Deep down, he didn't want to destroy Lena. He wanted to understand her. What made this small human so resilient, so determined, so unstoppable? Dawn came. The grand arena was packed with spectators, cadets, officers, generals, and even members of the Galactic Council. Cameras hovered above, streaming the event live across multiple star systems. For many, this was more than a duel. It was a test to decide humanity's future place in the galaxy. Lena stood in the center of the arena, her heart steady, her face calm. She wore no armor, only her standard combat uniform. Across from her stood Raul, tall and fierce, his silver armor gleaming under the lights. The crowd fell silent as the announcer's voice echoed. This is a sanctioned duel between Commander Raul of Vornak Prime and Cadet Lena Ward of Earth. Fight until one yields. The gong sounded. Raul moved first, his massive frame charging forward with terrifying speed. Lena dodged to the side, but his fist still grazed her shoulder, sending pain through her body. The crowd roared. Raul didn't slow down. His attacks came in waves, fast, powerful, relentless. Lena blocked, ducked, and rolled, but each hit brought her closer to exhaustion. Still, she refused to fall. She waited, searching for an opening. Raul's every move was perfect, calculated and disciplined. But even perfection has patterns. She began to notice small gaps in his rhythm. A half-second pause before a right swing. A shift of his foot before he lunged. When he came at her again, she was ready. She stepped in instead of back, twisting her body and striking at his exposed side. The impact shook the arena. Raul stumbled slightly but recovered fast. His eyes widened. He hadn't expected her to counter that quickly. "Good," he said through clenched teeth. "You're learning." They clashed again and again. Each strike echoed like thunder. The arena floor cracked beneath their feet. Spectators leaned forward, mesmerized by the impossible sight, a human fighting an alien commander as an equal. Lena's arms ached, her lungs burned, but something inside her refused to stop. She thought of Earth, of humanity's long struggle to survive, of every ancestor who had fought against impossible odds. That spirit flowed through her. It was more than muscle. It was willpower. Raul lunged one final time, raising his arm to strike. But Lena moved faster. Her body seemed to react before her mind. She stepped in close, her fist glowing faintly with blue light as she hit his chest. The sound was like an explosion. Raul was thrown backward, crashing into the arena wall. The crowd gasped. Silence followed. Raul lay on one knee, panting. He touched his chest where her punch had landed, and saw the armor cracked open. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Raul started to laugh, a deep, echoing laugh that surprised everyone. He stood, towering above her once again, but this time his expression wasn't pride or anger. It was respect. "You've done it," he said. "You've earned your place here." The crowd erupted in cheers. Even the council members stood, their faces unreadable. Lena looked up at Raul and said quietly, "I didn't want to hurt you." Raul smiled. "You didn't. You reminded me what strength truly means." He extended his hand, and Lena took it. The image of the human and the alien standing side by side spread across the galaxy in seconds. For the first time in history, humans were no longer seen as weak. They were seen as something new, something to be respected and feared. But in the shadows of the council chamber, powerful figures watched the broadcast in silence. One of them leaned forward and said coldly, "If one human can do this, what happens when there are many?" And with that, the next chapter of Lena's story began, not just as a soldier, but as the spark of a future the galaxy was not prepared to face. The galactic combat arena was silent long after the duel had ended. The crowd had cheered for Lena, but now the echoes had faded, leaving behind a strange stillness. Commander Raul sat alone in the medical wing, his armor cracked and chest still sore from her final strike. He wasn't angry anymore. He wasn't humiliated. He was curious. How could a human, a species considered weak and primitive, adapt so fast? He had trained warriors from every known planet, but never had he seen anyone evolve in real time during battle. Raul stared at the holographic monitor that showed Lena's combat data. Her strength had increased by 30% in less than 10 minutes of fighting. Her muscle fibers were rewriting themselves under stress. Impossible, the alien medic muttered beside him. Her body shouldn't survive that. Rahl said nothing. He just kept watching the data, his mind racing. Meanwhile, Lena sat in her quarters, her hand wrapped in fresh bandages. She could still feel the vibration of that final punch echoing in her bones. She hadn't meant to hit him so hard. Something had just awakened inside her during that fight. She remembered the moment his attack came toward her, the flash of movement, the surge of fear, then the sudden calm. Her body had moved on its own, faster and stronger than she ever thought possible. It was like her mind had unlocked a door she didn't know existed. Outside her room, whispers floated through the halls. "Did you see her eyes glow?" one cadet said. "No, it was her hands. They lit up before the punch," another replied. The rumors grew wilder by the hour. Some said she was a cyborg, others claimed she was part alien. But the truth was simpler, and far more dangerous. The next morning, Lena was summoned to the High Command chamber. The room was massive, with tall glass walls and glowing blue symbols floating in the air. Rahl was already there, standing beside 3 members of the Galactic Council. Their faces were hidden behind shimmering masks. One of them spoke in a calm but sharp voice. "Cadet Lena Ward of Earth," he said. "Your recent performance has caused great interest and concern." Lena stood straight, her hands clasped behind her back. "I only followed my training," she said. "Indeed," the council member replied. "Yet your strength surpasses what should be possible for your species. We ran an analysis of your DNA, and the results are extraordinary." Another voice, deeper and colder, continued, "Human biology adapts faster than expected. Your body increases in efficiency under pressure. You learn in combat the way others learn over years." Rahl stepped forward. "She's not a threat," he said. "She's proof that humans can evolve. We should study and learn from her." The council turned their glowing eyes toward him. "That is exactly what we intend to do," the leader said. Lena's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" "You will be transferred to the Central Research Facility on Vornak Prime," the councilman said. "There, your body and mind will be examined under controlled conditions. Your cooperation is mandatory." For a moment, Lena just stared at them. Then she said quietly, "You want to lock me in a lab." The masked figures didn't deny it. "It is for the safety of the galaxy," one of them said. "We cannot allow an unknown factor to disrupt balance." Rahl's jaw tightened. "You can't do that. She's a soldier, not an experiment." "You forget your place, Commander," the council replied coldly. "The human will comply." Rahl turned to Lena. "Say no," he whispered. But Lena's mind was racing. She realized that if she refused, they might use force. She had seen what happened to those who disobeyed the council. She looked up and said, "I'll go, but only if Commander Rahl comes with me." The council murmured among themselves, then nodded slowly. "Agreed. You both will depart at sunrise." When they left the chamber, Rahl looked at her and said, "You just put both of us in danger." Lena smiled faintly. "I couldn't let them take me alone." The next day, their ship lifted off from the academy and set course for Vornak Prime. The journey was silent. Rahl sat in the cockpit, lost in thought. Lena gazed out the window, watching the stars drift by. "Do you think they're afraid of me?" she asked quietly. Rahl nodded. "They fear what they don't understand. And they don't understand you." When they arrived, the facility was nothing like the academy. It was darker, colder, filled with machines that hummed softly in the shadows. Scientists in long coats watched Lena as if she were a strange creature. They asked endless questions, took blood samples, scanned her brain and muscles. 4 days, she endured their tests without complaint. But with each passing hour, she grew stronger. The gravity chambers meant to exhaust her only made her body tougher. The mental simulations meant to break her only sharpened her focus. One night, when everyone was asleep, Rahl entered her chamber. "I saw your readings," he whispered. "They're off the charts. You're still evolving." Lena looked at him with tired eyes. "Then why do I feel like a prisoner?" Raul didn't answer. He looked around, then lowered his voice. You have to be careful. The Council isn't studying you to help. They're afraid you'll become too powerful. If they think you're a threat, they'll end you. Lena felt a chill run down her spine. So what do we do? Raul took a deep breath. We wait. And when the time comes, we run. Over the next few days, the tension grew. The scientists became more secretive. Guards were stationed outside her chamber. And then, one night, Lena overheard two of them whispering near her room. They're transferring her to the deep lab tomorrow, one said. Level 9. That's where they keep the dangerous subjects. The other replied, I heard the Council plans to erase her after the analysis. Lena's blood ran cold. She waited until the lights dimmed, then pressed her palm against the scanner near the door. The system recognized her DNA and unlocked the seal. She slipped out silently and found Raul waiting near the docking bay. They're coming for me, she whispered. Raul nodded. Then we leave now. Alarms blared as they ran through the corridor, red lights flashing. Security drones swarmed behind them. Raul fought them off while Lena hacked the bay doors. The moment they opened, they jumped into a small shuttle and blasted off into the night. As the stars streaked by outside, Lena looked back at the shrinking planet. They'll come after us, she said. Raul gripped the controls, his eyes fixed on the stars. Let them. They wanted to study human strength. Now they'll see what happens when it fights back. In that moment, Lena understood something new. It wasn't her body that made her powerful. It was her will, the same unbreakable will that had carried humanity through every struggle in history. And somewhere deep inside, she knew the fight for her freedom was only the beginning. The stolen shuttle flew through the endless void of space, its engines burning bright blue against the darkness. Lena sat in the co-pilot seat, her hands gripping the sides tightly as the stars streaked past the window. Her heart was pounding, but her eyes stayed sharp. Behind her, the faint hum of the ship mixed with the echo of alarms still ringing in her mind. They had escaped Vornak Prime, but she knew it wasn't over. Commander Raul sat beside her, his reptilian hands steady on the controls. His armor was scratched and scorched from the fight during their escape. The silence between them was heavy, broken only by the ship's quiet hum. Finally, Lena spoke. Where are we going? Raul didn't look at her. Somewhere they won't find us. There's an old mining colony on the edge of Sector 9. Abandoned. We'll hide there until we figure out what to do. Lena nodded, but worry clouded her mind. They'll send hunters, won't they? Raul's jaw tightened. They already have. He turned on the ship sensors, and a red warning blinked across the screen. 3 pursuit ships closing in fast. Hold on, he said. He yanked the controls, and the shuttle dove sharply, dodging the first burst of plasma fire. The ship shuddered as another shot grazed their side. Lena's stomach twisted as the stars spun outside. We can't outrun them forever, she shouted. Then we don't, Raul growled. He switched the shuttle to manual control and dove toward a dense asteroid field. The pursuing ships followed, their weapons flashing in the darkness. Rocks the size of cities floated all around them, spinning slowly. One wrong move, and they would be crushed. Lena held her breath as Raul guided the ship through narrow gaps, dodging debris by inches. You're insane, she muttered. I prefer alive, Raul said calmly. A plasma bolt exploded nearby, shaking the shuttle violently. The alarm screamed. Shields down to 40%. Lena called out, checking the systems. We can't take another hit like that. Then we make sure we don't, Raul replied. He spotted a massive asteroid ahead, hollowed out by old mining tunnels. There, he said. We'll hide inside. They sped toward it, the enemy ships still on their tail. Raul flipped the ship upside down and cut the engines. The shuttle drifted silently through space, sliding into the shadow of the asteroid. The sensors went dark. They floated through the narrow tunnels until everything was quiet again. They lost us, Lena whispered, her voice trembling slightly. Raul nodded. For now. The ship settled in a dark cavern deep inside the asteroid. The engines powered down, leaving only the soft glow of emergency lights. Lena leaned back, exhaling slowly. Her muscles were sore, her hands shaking. "I thought we were dead," she said. Rahl gave a small smile. "So did I. You did well, human." She looked at him, half smiling. "You almost sound like you respect me." Rahl chuckled. "Almost." Hours passed. The two sat in silence, the weight of everything pressing on them. Lena's mind raced. She thought about Earth, about the friends she left behind, about how far she had come from being the weak human everyone laughed at. Now, she was running from the most powerful government in the galaxy. "Why are you helping me?" she asked suddenly. Rahl didn't answer at first. He stared out into the darkness of the asteroid. "Because I was wrong," he said finally. "I thought strength was about power, domination. But you showed me something else. Strength isn't about who hits harder. It's about who refuses to break." Lena looked down, her chest tightening. "They're never going to stop coming for me, are they?" "No," Rahl said. "But that's not your biggest problem anymore." He pressed a few buttons on the console, and a holographic image appeared in the air, a galaxy map with red blinking zones spreading across multiple systems. "What is that?" Lena asked. "The Council declared you a Class A threat," Rahl said. "They've sent out a signal to every military outpost. Anyone who finds you is ordered to kill on sight." Lena stared at the map, her throat dry. "They want to erase me." "Not just you," Rahl said quietly. "They want to erase the idea of you. If the galaxy learns that humans can evolve this fast, it could destroy their control." Lena clenched her fists. "Then we show them the truth." Rahl raised an eyebrow. "What are you planning?" "We don't hide," she said firmly. "We fight back. We show the galaxy what humans are really capable of." Rahl hesitated. "You're talking about war." "I'm talking about survival," Lena replied. "They made me into something they don't understand. Let's make sure they never forget it." Rahl stared at her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Then we'll need allies." Over the next few days, they repaired the ship and transmitted coded messages to old contacts, mercenaries, smugglers, and soldiers who had fought against the Council's control. One by one, answers came in. Some offered supplies, others sent warnings. A few promised help. But one message stood out. It came from a hidden base on the icy moon of Dravos 7. The message was simple: "We know who you are. We've been waiting." Rahl frowned. "It could be a trap. Or it could be our only chance," Lena said. They decided to go. The journey took 3 days through dark, uncharted space. When they arrived, the moon looked lifeless, just frozen mountains and endless storms. But as they descended, the ground split open, revealing a massive underground base lit by warm orange lights. A landing platform rose from the ice to meet them. As the shuttle touched down, armed figures surrounded them. Their leader stepped forward, a tall woman with pale skin and metallic eyes. "Welcome, human," she said. "We've heard about you." Lena glanced at Rahl, then stepped forward cautiously. "Who are you?" The woman smiled faintly. "We are the Resistance. And you, Lena Ward, are the proof we've been waiting for." The words hit Lena like a spark in the dark. "Proof of what?" "Proof that humans are more than the Council wants the galaxy to believe. They've kept your kind isolated for centuries, afraid of what you could become. But now, thanks to you, they know the truth." Lena looked around at the people gathered there, humans, aliens, hybrids, all watching her with hope in their eyes. For the first time since this nightmare began, she didn't feel alone. The leader continued, "The Council's power depends on fear. You've already broken their pride. Now it's time to break their control." Rahl stepped forward. "You want to start a war?" The woman nodded. "A war for freedom." Lena looked at the faces around her. Every one of them had suffered under the Council's rule. Every one of them was ready to fight. She turned to Rahl, her voice steady. "You said strength is about refusing to break. Then let's show them how strong humanity really is." Rahl gave a slow, proud nod. "Then it begins." Deep beneath the frozen surface of Dravos 7, the spark of rebellion was lit. What started as one weak human fighting for her place was now turning into something far greater, a movement that could shake the entire galaxy. And Lena Ward, once mocked and underestimated, was ready to lead it. The hidden base beneath the icy moon of Dravos 7 was alive with movement and energy. Engineers worked on old ships, soldiers trained in the large underground hangar, and holographic maps of the galaxy glowed on every wall. Lena Ward walked through the tunnels, her boots crunching softly against the frost-covered metal floors. It had been 2 weeks since she and Commander Rahl arrived, and already her name had spread among the rebels like a legend. To many, she was a symbol, a human who had stood up to the Galactic Council and survived. To others, she was a weapon, the key to finally breaking the Council's iron rule. But to herself, she was still the same person who once stood trembling in front of a laughing alien instructor. The difference now was that no one dared laugh anymore. Commander Rahl stood beside a large tactical display, his claws tapping on the holographic surface as he spoke with the Resistance leaders. "The Council has begun moving their fleets toward the Outer Rim," he said. "They're afraid of us forming alliances. That means we have to strike first." Lena stepped forward. "We can't face their full army. We'll need something smarter, something that hits their pride, not just their ships." The leader of the Resistance, the silver-eyed woman named Kale, nodded. "You're right. We need a symbol of defiance. Something the entire galaxy will see." Rahl turned to Lena. "You already are that symbol. But if you want to keep the fight alive, you'll need to show them again what humanity can do." Lena looked at the map and pointed at one glowing red zone. "What about Helion Station?" The room went silent. Kale's eyes narrowed. "That's dangerous. It's one of the Council's main energy hubs. Thousands of soldiers guard it." "Exactly," Lena said. "If we take it, even for a few hours, every planet will know the Council can bleed." Rahl frowned. "You're talking about suicide." Lena met his gaze. "No. I'm talking about hope." After a long silence, Kale finally nodded. "Then we do it. You'll lead the strike team, Lena. Commander Rahl will go with you." The room filled with murmurs of approval and fear. Everyone knew what it meant. If they failed, it wouldn't just be their deaths, it would end the Resistance before it truly began. That night, Lena couldn't sleep. She sat on the edge of her bunk, staring at her bandaged hands. Her body was stronger than ever now, faster and sharper, but her mind still carried the weight of what she had become. Rahl entered quietly, his heavy steps echoing. "You should rest," he said. "Tomorrow, everything changes." Lena looked up at him. "Do you ever wonder if we're doing the right thing?" Rahl tilted his head. "If you mean fighting for freedom, then yes, it's right. But freedom always demands a price." Lena nodded slowly. "Then I'll pay it." The next morning, the hangar roared to life. Ships powered up, weapons loaded, and soldiers prepared for launch. Lena stood at the front of her team, 12 fighters from different worlds, all wearing the mark of the Resistance. Kale approached her and handed her a small silver badge shaped like a flame. "For courage," she said softly. Lena took it and pinned it to her uniform. "For everyone who still believes," she replied. The team boarded their stealth ship, the Ember, and took off into the cold darkness of space. The journey to Helion Station was tense. The massive structure soon appeared ahead of them, a ring-shaped fortress glowing with golden energy, orbiting a dying star. "We have 5 minutes before their scanners detect us," Rahl said. "We go in silent and fast." Lena nodded. "Once we're inside, we plant the disruptor core in the central reactor. That will disable the station long enough for us to send a broadcast to the galaxy." The plan was simple, but execution meant death if anything went wrong. The Ember drifted toward the station, its cloak humming softly. They slipped through a maintenance vent and landed inside one of the lower levels. The corridors were metallic and dimly lit, filled with the hum of generators. Lena led the way, her pulse steady, her mind focused. Every movement was precise, every sound amplified in her ears. Suddenly, a patrol of guards turned the corner. Rahl reacted instantly, grabbing one and slamming him against the wall. Lena moved like lightning, disarming the other two in seconds. It was over before any alarm sounded. "You've improved," Rahl muttered. "I had a good teacher," Lena replied with a faint smile. They moved deeper into the station. After 20 minutes, they reached the reactor core, a vast chamber of golden light surrounded by armored walkways. Lena took out the disruptor core from her bag, its blue light pulsing softly. "Once this activates," she said, "we'll have 10 minutes before the overload begins." She planted the device at the base of the reactor and connected it to her wrist console. But before she could activate it, the entire station shuddered. Red lights flashed. A cold, mechanical voice echoed through the speakers. "Intruders detected. Lockdown initiated. Ral cursed. They found us." Dozens of armored soldiers stormed into the chamber, weapons raised. "Go!" Ral shouted, firing his blaster. Lena dove behind a console, returning fire. The sound of battle filled the air, plasma bolts, explosions, and screams. The team fought fiercely, but more troops kept coming. One by one, resistance fighters fell. "We can't hold them," Lena shouted. "Then finish the mission." Ral roared. He covered her as she ran to the reactor. Her hands flew over the controls. The disruptor core beeped and locked in place. "Core armed. 10 minutes to overload," the system announced. Suddenly, a sharp blast hit Ral's chest, throwing him to the ground. "Ral!" Lena screamed, running to him. His armor was cracked, his breathing shallow. "You have to go," he said weakly. "Not without you," she said, tears filling her eyes. "Lena, listen to me. You started something greater than both of us. Don't let it die here. Go." Soldiers closed in from every side. Lena clenched her fists, anger boiling inside her. Then it happened again. The same energy she felt during her first fight with Ral surged through her veins. Her vision blurred, her body glowed faintly. She moved faster than thought, striking down every soldier that came near. The floor trembled with each impact. When the last enemy fell, she looked at Ral. He smiled faintly. "You finally understand," he whispered. "Strength isn't what they think it is." "No," she said softly. "It's what we choose to fight for." She lifted him onto her shoulders and ran toward the ship as the countdown reached its final minutes. They barely made it aboard before the station exploded behind them in a massive burst of light. The shockwave threw the Ember across space, but it held together. When Lena looked back, Helion Station was gone, just debris and golden fire drifting among the stars. Across the galaxy, the broadcast went out, a message showing the explosion and Lena Ward's face. Her words echoed everywhere. "This is for every world that's been silenced. The Council's rule ends now." In the Resistance base, Kale watched the transmission and whispered, "She did it." The rebellion had begun. But far away, in the Council's dark chamber, the masked leaders watched the same footage. "The human lives," one said coldly. "Then send the hunter," another replied. "If she wants war, she'll have it." And as the stars burned brighter than ever, Lena Ward didn't know that her greatest battle was still to come. The explosion of Helion Station echoed across the galaxy, a blinding burst of golden fire that lit up the void like a new sun. Millions watched from distant worlds as the broadcast spread, images of a lone human woman standing against the Galactic Council's might. Her voice, calm but fierce, carried across every communication channel, "The Council's rule ends now." In the Resistance base on Dravo 7, soldiers cheered, ships lit their engines, and hope, something the galaxy hadn't felt in decades, began to stir. But Lena Ward didn't celebrate. Inside the medical bay of her ship, the Ember, she sat beside Commander Ral, who lay pale and motionless on the stretcher. His breathing was shallow, his armor shattered from the blast. The medics worked quietly, their faces grim. Lena's hands were trembling, but not from fear. It was anger at the Council, at the war, and at the fact that even victory seemed to cost too much. "He'll live," one medic finally said. "But he needs time." Lena exhaled shakily, her heart heavy. "We don't have time," she whispered. "They'll come for us now." She was right. Even as she spoke, far away in the black heart of the galaxy, the Galactic Council convened in their hidden fortress. The chamber was vast, filled with dark energy and cold light. The masked leaders stood in a circle, their voices echoing like distant thunder. "Helion Station has fallen," one said. "Thousands of soldiers lost. The people are rising." Another spoke in a sharper tone. The human is not just a fighter, she's a symbol. And symbols are dangerous. Then it's time, said the High Chancellor, his mask gleaming gold. Release the hunter. The others hesitated. Are you sure? He hasn't been used in centuries. He was made for this purpose, the Chancellor replied coldly. No army. No fleet. Just one being to destroy her, and everything she stands for. Deep in a frozen vault, a massive containment pod hissed open. Inside stood a figure tall as Rahl but more terrifying, a hybrid of machine and alien flesh, its eyes glowing red, its body forged with weapons of forgotten wars. The hunter stepped forward as steam rose around him. Target, Lena Ward, he growled in a metallic voice. Objective, eliminate. Back on Dravo 7, Lena stood before a crowd of soldiers and pilots, her face hard and determined. The Council will strike back, she said. They'll call us criminals, traitors, monsters. But we fight for every world they've crushed, every voice they've silenced. We fight for freedom. The crowd erupted in shouts of support. But beneath the noise, Rahl's weak voice reached her from the side of the platform. You've changed, human, he said. You're not fighting to prove yourself anymore. You're fighting for everyone else. Lena looked at him and smiled softly. That's what you taught me. Later that night, as the base powered down, Lena walked through the cold tunnels alone. The silence felt heavy. She looked up at the ice ceiling above, the faint light of distant stars glowing through. For the first time, she wondered if she could really win. Then, a soft alarm echoed through the halls. Unidentified object entering orbit, the control officer's voice called out. It's fast, too fast to track. Lena's instincts screamed. That's not a ship, she said. That's a weapon. She ran toward the control center, but it was too late. The ground shook violently as a dark figure crashed through the outer shield, landing in the hangar with the force of a meteor. Soldiers drew their weapons, forming a line. From the smoke rose the hunter, his armor black as space, his eyes burning red. He scanned the room and said in a deep metallic growl, Lena Ward of Earth. Step forward. Lena appeared, her fists clenched. Who are you? The creature's head tilted slightly. I am the end. Before anyone could react, he moved. Faster than sight, he tore through the front line, tossing soldiers aside like dust. Plasma blasts hit his body and vanished in sparks. Lena shouted, everyone fall back, and ran toward him. The hunter met her strike with a single motion, blocking her punch effortlessly. The shockwave cracked the floor beneath them. You are strong, he said coldly. But strength without control is nothing. He swung his arm, sending her crashing into a wall. Pain exploded in her ribs, but she forced herself up. You'll have to do better than that, she hissed. The battle tore through the hangar. Lena moved with speed and precision, every hit landing with thunderous force. But the hunter adapted quickly, matching her moves, countering her blows. Sparks and fire filled the air as their fists collided again and again. Rahl, watching from the medical bay window, tried to stand but collapsed. She can't win alone, he muttered. Lena's vision blurred as the hunter's next strike sent her skidding across the floor. He stepped closer, his red eyes glowing brighter. You are not evolution, he said. You are error. But before he could finish, Lena's energy surged again, brighter, stronger than ever before. The same power that once dented Rahl's armor now erupted through her body like lightning. Her eyes glowed white, and the ground beneath her cracked. She rose slowly, her voice steady. No, she said. I'm humanity's answer. The hunter charged, but this time, Lena met him head-on. Their fists collided, and a shockwave ripped through the entire base. Lights shattered, walls cracked, and the very air trembled. For a moment, it looked like both would be destroyed. Then the hunter staggered back, smoke rising from his chest where her punch had landed. Impossible, he growled. You can't. Lena didn't let him finish. Her next blow hit like a meteor, driving him through the floor into the icy ground below. When the smoke cleared, the hangar was silent. The hunter lay motionless, a crater around him. Soldiers stared in awe. Lena stood at the edge, breathing hard, her fists still glowing faintly. Is it over? One whispered. But as she turned, the hunter's red eyes flickered again. He began to rise, his voice low and broken. You cannot kill what was never alive. He lunged forward one last time, but before he reached her, Rahl appeared behind him, holding a plasma blade. With a roar, Rahl drove it deep into the creature's core. The hunter froze, then collapsed in silence. The light in his eyes faded. Rahl fell beside him, breathing heavily. Lena rushed to him. You saved me again, she said softly. Rahl smirked weakly. You looked like you needed help. The base was in ruins, but they were alive. The resistance had survived its greatest threat yet. As medics rushed in, Kale appeared, her face lit with fierce determination. The council won't stop here, she said. They'll come with everything they have. Lena looked out at the stars beyond the shattered ceiling. Then we'll be ready, she said. They tried to destroy one human. Now they'll face millions. That night, messages spread across every world. From slaves on desert planets to miners on frozen moons, people whispered her name, Lena Ward, the human who defied the galaxy's rulers. And far away, in the council chamber, the High Chancellor watched in silence. If one human can do this, he said slowly, what happens when all of them rise? The others said nothing. But they all knew, the age of fear was ending, and the age of humanity was about to begin.